Fresh groceries are Kroger's thing. That's why they do freshness checks on the items in your delivery order at every step of their journey from farms to Kroger stores, and pick and pack every blue, raz, and strawberry in your free pickup order with the utmost care. Because they believe in treating your food the same way they'd want theirs to be treated. It's kind of like the golden rule, only for fresh fruit and stuff. Order now using the mobile app. They're fresh every day, so shop anyway. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Free pickup on orders of $35 or more. Restrictions may apply.
Dish Network knows the importance of having a reliable television provider. That's why Dish puts reliability first, with 99% signal reliability anywhere in the country, including rural America. So you can watch your teams, news, and favorite shows without being interrupted, no matter where you live. Get 99% signal reliability with Dish. Call 1-844-CALL-DISH. Visit dish.com or find a retailer near you to sign up today. 99% reliability based on data from set-top boxes.
The following is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network.
This is John Silver, lead recruiter of the Dark Order, and you are listening to All Things Elite.
Welcome, everyone, to the 145th episode of Social Suplex's podcast about AEW with a proclivity for positivity. Welcome to All Things Elite. Yes, you hear that right. I am your host today, Floyd Johnson. I am subbing on as the host for Mr. Austin Sumowitz, who, if some of you may know, he pretty much he's a sportscaster. He's a sports reporter. And yeah, this is one of the busiest weeks of the year if you work in sports. He is covering March Madness for the state of Michigan. So he's been busy, he's been tired. So his voice pretty much gave out from all the stuff he had to do. So he said, Floyd, I need you to, take over, find someone else to do it this week. And I was like, okay. And there's only one person I call. This is going to come as a shock to no one. Our frequent collaborator, my boy, my WrestleMania travel buddy, he is the FTR Express hair to my FTR Express bulb, Mr. JR Perez. How you doing today, JR?
I'm doing great, and it is a very busy time in sports. Essentially, beginning Wednesday, you had NFL free agency, you had Major League Baseball spring training, you had the first two rounds of NCAA March Madness that's ending. That started Thursday, that will end today. So it was a busy 5 days for our boy Austin. So hope that voice recovers so we can get back to our routine for next week.
So the reason we would have skipped this week without Austin. You know how I feel about doing shows without my boy, the silky smooth voice of Austin Sumowitz. But big happenings in AEW this week, so we had to do a show. You had to get our spicy hot takes, and we had to talk about our new champion. So that's going to go through. We're going to jump in real quick, but right before we jump in, I want to make sure you're downloading this show on Google or Apple Podcasts. Please leave a rating or review when available. Also, make sure if you feel so inclined and you're loving us that day, leave a donation through Red Circle. Please support us by following at AT Elite Pod, at Social Suplex, at Austin Sumowitz. His last name is spelled SZUMOWICZ, and at Floyd Johnson Jr. on Twitter. Where can they find you, JR?
You can find me on Twitter at Lucha Professor. That is at Lucha Professor on Twitter.
All right. Well, we done warmed you up, and now it's time to actually just jump right into wrestling. The big news of the week is Elite-ish, as in Tony Khan is the owner of ROH, and he's the owner of AEW, and the match that he made includes someone from AEW. So we got two big mid-match announcements this week. First match we're going to talk about is, and this is not going to happen in AEW ring, it's going to happen in the New Japan ring at Windy City. Is it called Windy City Showdown?
I believe that is correct.
Yes, we're going to get Jon Moxley wrestling against Will Ospreay. If you can, go to Will Ospreay's page and watch his promos to Jon Moxley. They were very entertaining. But we're going to get Jon Moxley versus Will Ospreay. Will Ospreay, Jon Moxley cut a promo too. Didn't make Will Ospreay too happy, so make sure you go into their, it's at New Japan World, NJPW World, I believe, is the Twitter page to go to, or NJPW Global, or NJPW World. You should see the links there. But very exciting matchup. I believe that is taking place on April 16th. Is it a Saturday? Yeah. All right. But before then, the bigger announcement. The real deal Holyfield. The reason you might hear my voice and I am super excited and I'm doing a countdown and I was shaking when I found out. So me and JR, as I announced, are going to be at WrestleMania weekend. We had our whole weekend planned out. Thursday, WrestleCon. Friday, WrestleCon, we were going to do the New Japan show, and then we were going to do the Impact show. Saturday, we were going to be at WrestleCon until it was time to go to WrestleMania. And then Sunday, just pretty much sleep in, go get some barbecue, WrestleMania. That was our plan for the week. But Big TK, my guy, the guy that comes through in the clutch, gave your boy Floyd a dream match, especially announced by FTR through a beautiful promo by Dax and Cash. You can go to either one of their pages to see this. We are getting FTR versus the Briscoes at the Ring of Honor Super Show WrestleMania weekend. It'll be Friday, April 1st at 7 o'clock. Let's fucking go. JR, I sent you the message and I was like, you know what this means, right? Because I've been, you know what, the way we travel between me and JR is he's a planner. He's like planning his trip to New Japan in 2025 already. That's what JR does. He's a planner. Me, I generally have a plan, but I kind of like, something long comes better, I fly by the seat of my pants. But for this WrestleMania trip, because I'm rolling with JR, I was like, I'm not going to change any of our plans. We're going to stick to what we did. Because you know what? I am accommodating. But there was one exception to that rule. One exception. I said, if they announce FTR and the Briscoes, I will be there. Is that correct, JR?
Yes, that is correct.
One exception. And this week, Tony Khan gave me a Christmas present, a birthday present, whatever you want to call it, and we got FTR and the Briscoes. I need to know how excited you are, JR.
So this Friday was just a crazy, chaotic day, and with work and planning, and I get this message from Floyd Johnson, my good buddy, and it just is Ring of Honor Supercard, the Colon Center in Garland, Texas, FTR, the current AAA Tag Team Champions, multi-time Tag Team Champions versus the multi-time current Ring of Honor Tag Team Champions, Briscoe Brothers. And it's one of those things where you wanted it to happen, you felt it was going to happen, but you didn't know when it was going to happen. And it's just like you were hoping it was going to be soon. And especially when they collided when FTR made a surprise appearance at the Final Battle show back in Maryland at the end of 2021. And it's just one of those things where it just feels right, because the Briscoe brothers have been, probably the most, by far the most famous tag team in Ring of Honor history. Their career speaks for itself. Ring of Honor. FTR is the proverbial, one of the greatest tag teams in the history and everything they've done. And they want to accumulate, tag team champions in multiple organizations. They want to go down as the greatest of all time. And it's just one of those things where you just don't have words for it, because the term dream matches or fantasy booking or super fights, it gets thrown around loosely. But for such a long time, the Briscoe brothers have been at the top, and FTR came along in the last decade, and it's just one of the things where you didn't know if it was going to happen, and because when FTR was doing their thing, the revival in WWE, but now that they're in AEW and AEW's partnership, from New Japan, and then, what they do with AAA, and now with Tony Khan being the owner of Ring of Honor, this is a way for whatever Ring of Honor is going to do in the future. This is a good way to kickstart that by kind of ending the one legacy and beginning a new legacy.
Yes, and I am excited. I have taken, in the last few years, I have taken many pictures with FTR, and I've taken a couple pictures with the Briscoes. And both times when I said it, I didn't say a lot, but I did say, if you and FTR, I told the Briscoes, if you and FTR do the thing, if I have 2 weeks' notice, I will be there. I told FTR, if you and the Briscoes do the thing, and I have 2 weeks' notice, I'll be there. 2 weeks to the day that it was going to happen, they announced it. Not saying they did it for me, in no way. I imagine it was just a coincidence to build up. That when I was even looking at the tickets, like the lower levels were gone and real close to it, but some of the upper levels weren't selling that well. So they put the announcement out there to maybe move some tickets. I understand it, but it's just that weird coincidence that was exactly 2 weeks that I had time to make the change. Because guess what? If we were there on Friday and we were going to New Japan and they announced it that day, there's no way I could have made that happen. I wouldn't have put anybody in that situation. I would have just stuck with the plans that I had. But we had 2 weeks, and it's so awesome. Shout out to my boy, Balor Club guy, or Balor guy. He was selling tickets. Section, like the 100 section, first row of the 100 section on the aisle, the perfect seats for me and JR. Picked those seats up, just pretty much face value. Picked up those seats. Very excited to be going there. I'm like, let's go. I am giddy. I have posted like 18 times about this match. I couldn't sleep because I am so excited to see this match go down. It's the dream matches. Got to be there for FTR to win the AEW titles. I got to be there for them to wrestle the Young Bucks. Now, I actually got to see them for another dream match of mine when they wrestled Proud and Powerful. Now I get to be there to watch the Briscoes, and man, that is just a great way to be. I know this is not exclusively AEW, but it's in the family. So we're going to jump right into Dynamite, because, I could talk about that forever, and that's not what if you're tuning in, that's not what you're tuning in for. You're looking for the break. You're looking for the breakdown of AEW Dynamite and Rampage this week. So that's what we're about to do. Let's see. St. Patrick's Day Slam results, March 16, 2022. I am going to do my best to do right by Austin and get us through this fairly quickly. But let's go. First opening match. You start off with the opening. You start off with a banger where AEW's back to going straight to matches. Trios match. The AEW World Champion and the AEW Tag Team Champions. Hangman, Adam Page, and Jurassic Express Jurassic Express versus Adam Cole, Baby, and Red Dragon, Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly. Jim Ross announces a sellout from San Antonio, Texas, the home of Thunder Rosa. And what did you think of this match, sir?
I mean, the trio matches in AEW, especially with when you have a talent like Jurassic Express and an amazing tag team Red Dragon is, you add in your Adam Page and Adam Cole. It's one of those ones where I don't want to say it's your typical trios match, because that's not the right terminology I want to use, but it's just when you get these type of matches from AEW, you get the typical great spots, great moments, high flying action, great wrestling, and it's just one of those things where when I see these type of trio matches, I'm like, it's just time for them to have a trios tag team division, because they do it very well. By far, I think the best, in my opinion, the best I've seen as far as trios tag team in North America. So I think it's time. They have the roster for it. They have the tag teams for it. They have the trios tag team for it. So I think it's time to start to do it, and it's going to be amazing. But I loved it, and it just continues a storyline between Adam Cole and Adam Page.
Yes, I thought this match was amazing. At this one point, we got a double Doomsday device with Jungle Boy using Luchasaurus' hand to springboard off the top ropes and hit the double clothesline. And then at one point in the match, Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish got Luchasaurus and Hangman on the outside of the ring. They then hindered Chasing the Dragon. And then Adam Cole followed up with the boom, and he got a clean 1-2-3 over Jungle Boy. Jungle Boy hadn't been pinned in a long time, and he had been red hot. Jim Ross did his best to get that over, and Adam Cole with the clean victory over him. So we're going to see what that leads to. I imagine we're going to see a straight-up tag team match for Red Dragon and a straight-up title match for another title match for Adam Page coming down the future. I don't know if that's what exactly is going to happen. You know, they like to throw a curveball every now and then, but that's where it looks like it's headed.
You know, it's in your neck of the woods, I believe. It is in Dallas, in the same arena where Ring of Honor, Supercard of Honor is happening in Garland, Texas. Battle of the Belt is coming in October. I apologize. April 16th. That's when I expect there to be Adam Cole versus Adam Page for a rematch.
Yes, that will be my first AEW show in the Curtis Colwell Center that I won't be at. My first one. So it'll be pretty crazy if that's the one. That's what I kept being afraid that I found out this week that it was never going to happen, but I kept getting afraid that we were going to get the FTR and the Briscoes on that show. But in fact, we found out this week that was never going to happen. You know, Briscoes are not going to be in AEW. But, hey, ROH is there. But, yeah, very excited. I love the end of this match. Jim Ross basically says they have unfinished business, no doubt about it. That lets you know where it's going. Shivani was backstage with Keith Lee and Powerhouse Hobbs and Absolute Ricky Starks. Basically, Starks told Keith Lee, you come to Rampage, we gonna whoop your ass. And Lee said, you mean like when I slapped you like a little bitch? And yeah, we'll see. He's like, I don't need to have no one to have my back, that kind of thing. So we were building up towards Rampage at that point. Then we got the next match. We got Jon Moxley and the American Dragon Bryan Danielson with William Regal on commentary versus Chuck Taylor and Willa Uter with Trent Beretta, Orange Cassidy, and Danhausen in there. So the match went as you expect this match to go, but the one part I want to focus on is Willa Uter. They did everything in this match except let him win to get Wheeler Yuta over. He got the better of Bryan Danielson and Jon Moxley on very many different occasions until he eventually tapped out. The story of this match is what happened on the way back is when he was heading to the back, Wheeler Yuta seemed to put his head down and pretty much offer his services to the William Regal-led faction with Danielson and Mox. And when he stuck out his hand, William Regal is doing what is going to be, seems like the symbol of acceptance in this group. He slaps the shit out of Wheeler Yuta. Wheeler Yuta then gets mad like he's going to beat up Regal. Bryan Danielson, with that smirk on his face, and Moxley kind of step in front of him like, you don't want this smoke. And so, I got to ask JR, all of this, what did you think of Yuta's performance? That's the first question. Second question, is he going to be joining the group?
You know, I know this is it's hard for people to believe, but there is the opportunity and ability to get over in a loss. And that's what you saw with Wheeler Yuta, getting over even though he did not get the victory with his team. Wheeler is somebody that I actually seen before he became an AEW on the independent circle. I thought he was a great wrestler. I thought he had a good look to him. And you heard those comparisons. Like, this is a guy that's kind of like a Bryan Danielson type wrestler where he's not flashy, but he's going to get it done with his ring work ability. And I think he fits perfect into this group. I don't know, kind of the way it ended. It was kind of just interesting, and we know AEW loves themselves some factions. This is something where you can see if Wheeler, joins Bryan Danielson, Jon Moxley, they have big plans for him. I think in this particular group, compared to any other faction that AEW already has and established, this is something where I think they look at, this is a person that could be a future champion for us. This is I'll leave it at this. This is the group this is the new group that would find your next Sammy Guevara type wrestler.
Yeah, I think Yuta was one of the people I bookmarked. He really does not, as much as he's been with the breast fans and they've done a good job getting his name out there, his wrestling style and who he is as a wrestler never fit with their characters, their gimmick. Just, he was kind of like, he was the wrestler of the group. Then, so he does fit with Daniel Bryan and Moxley. Another name I want to see in that group, Lee Moriarty. I just think it's important. He is such a talented individual. He could get some shine in that group too. It's kind of cool. It's like this faction that's going to have the two main guys, and then they're going to have, I wouldn't call them young boys, but younger guys that they're preparing to fight. And I just love the idea of the violence. And speaking of violence, Bryan Danielson has a new shirt out this week. White shirt, says violence, eco-friendly shirt. So I'm thinking the group's going to have some name like that. I don't know if they're definitely not going to have a cute name. Whatever name that they come up with is going to be straight, simple, to the point. It would be kind of crazy if their name is just violence, so, Regal Goon. I'll go with Regal Goon too. I like that one. So, so that's that part of this show. On to the next part of the show. The fans chanted Yuta. I wanted to get that apart. It's like Yuta was really over in that section. Backstage, we get our boys, Dax Harwood and Cash Wheeler, were with Tony Schiavone, and he asked about FTR's firing of Tully Blanchard. They tried to clean it up this week. Tully lost his focus, and when you lost your focus, you get fired. They said there was something they were thinking about for a while. Basically, they cleaned it up. They did a good job I would say they did a job of cleaning it up. I don't know if it was good or bad, but Tully's gone. The Young Bucks come, and they say, maybe you guys should fire your current stylist as well. You can hire the best manager in the world or the best manager there is, but deep down inside, you always know you're going to be the second best tag team in AEW. The internet blew up over that line, the best manager there is. They blew up over that line. Everyone taking it as a hint that FTR is about to get Bret Hart to manage them. And if you look at this promo, they were definitely in the face role, getting bullied by the Young Bucks. Sir, what did you think about this?
It's funny. Sometimes with the internet, if you give them an inch, they're gonna take the whole mile with their theories. But FTR, with the potential of getting Bret Hart as their manager, I think would be an amazing get for AEW and FTR. I think it brings in a new level, like a new dimension to them, because they've always been the proverbial heel tag team. They've always been like the Andersons, or Tully and Arn from the NWA, and they've never worked babyface. They've never worked as good guys. So now going into this new possibility of them being a babyface tag team with one of the greatest wrestlers in the history of, the sport that you and I follow, would definitely put them on the right track to get over as babyfaces. I think it'd be different though. I don't think they would be they're not going to be your Ricky the Dragon, your Sting type babyface, or even a Bret Hart babyface for that matter. I think they're going to be, kind of like, Bret Hart's one of his best rivals ever. They're going to be more like a Stone Cold type babyface, where they're going to be, kind of like that tweener, but they just are going to always get cheered because of who they are, what they can do in the ring, and then having Bret Hart as their manager. So from what I've heard, right behind the scenes, as we kind of like to do, I heard it's something that they want. I don't know Bret Hart's interest into it, but the only thing I did heard is that he won't be a heel, and he just can't be a heel. I mean, that guy, the respect he gets, especially what he would get from that crowd and every wrestling crowd, there's no way that you'd be able to boo that man. It'd be like booing Santa Claus. And that only happens in Philadelphia.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting because I've really never seen them as full-on baby faces. So them trying to be babyface, it's cool. It's going to be a part of a weird thing for me to say, a part of FTR I've never seen, because, I've watched them so much. I usually get to see it all. So definitely looking forward to this. I can't wait to see if Cash doing a hot tag and what he does with that. Bret in the corner, oh my God. Let me just say, they probably had these plans in the works for months, weeks, or whatever. But it's just, when it comes to me, if I talk about like destiny and how things worked out, it is a huge coincidence. I meet them in Orlando. I give them the picture with Bret and them all wearing the pink and black. I even say to Cash, if you watch the video at Floyd Johnson Jr., it's my pinned video. I even say, man, it would be so cool if the next time you fight the Young Bucks, Bret Hart comes down to the ring with you. That was all said right then. And Cash said, man, that would be cool. That would be a dream. The next week, the next show, they fired Tully. The next week, after that show, they're talking about they're talking about the best there is, kind of hitting towards Bret Hart. It's just like, it just makes this whole situation, it makes the picture, all that stuff just so super cool if that's where it ends up heading. So it's just like, it's cool. It's just like one of those moments. It's cool. I'll be excited if it happens. I'll be excited to see a new take, because I did feel kind of like, I know they're the best tag team in AEW. Definitely my opinion. I know they're the best tag team, but they kind of got in a position where they were kind of lost in the shuffle. I want to see them, be the featured tag team in the company again. So let's see what they can do with that. Next segment, we then get the Acclaimed. Max Caster said it was him versus Keith Lee this Friday on Rampage. Hobbs and Starks told the claim to get the job done this Friday. Swerve Strickland laughed at Starks and said this was now Swerve's house. So there wasn't a lot to that. Did you have any thoughts on that, sir?
No, I did not.
Okay. All right. Then this is JR's all-time favorite segment in AEW history. We had the Influence Chris Jericho basically introducing his new faction consisting of Jake Hager, Daniel Garcia in 2.0. He basically said, the cool line was, the Earth's been around for 4.5 billion years, and you're lucky enough to be alive doing the Chris Jericho ever. You're welcome for that. For over 30 years, you've been living vicariously through me with my 5-star matches, riveting promos. Hell, I even build companies like this one. Without Jericho, there'd be no AEW. He then went on to say that 2.0 is a stupid name. They won't be going by 2.0. That they will be going by their real names. And it doesn't say their real names in this breakdown, but they're Matt and Jeff. One that is named Matt, his real name is Matt, but he's going to go by his actual real last name. And then I don't know what Jeff's name is. Daddy Magic is Matt. He's going to be Daddy Magic. And Jeff is going to go by his real name, Angelo Parker. He said everybody in the group is going to go by their real names. Jake Hager, Angelo Parker, Matt, Daniel Garcia, and then him, Chris Jericho. What's weird about that, JR? Jump in here.
Yeah, I could be wrong, but I'll just say I'm pretty sure that his last name is Irvine.
Yes, his real name is not Chris Jericho. He says everybody in the group's going by their real name, but he's not going by his real name. Unless he has had it legally changed to Chris Jericho, which, you know what, if that's the case, forgive me. But I believe his name is Chris Irvine. Whatever. I just thought that line was hilarious because it's such a heel thing to do, to say that and then, not be your last name. So that was cool. But then he told stories about how he met all those people, how Matt and Jeff had gotten fired from WWE, and his friend Kevin, his good friend Kevin, which a lot of people reference to Kevin Owens. They're all Canadians. He had them get him on the show, then they kind of impressed on the show, and they got hired by AEW. So they appreciate Jericho. Daniel Garcia, January 6, 2000, I think he said 20? January 6, 2020, Daniel Garcia was in an accident that broke his leg, and he was really jacked up. And I remember this, and Jericho gave a lot of money to the group to make sure he could get healthy and get back. 2 years, a year and a half later, I see him wrestle in Tampa for the first time. I think 4 months later, he's with AEW. So that's why he appreciates Jericho. And Jake Hager goes where he goes. Jake Hager is his right-hand man, his closest confidant. He saved his life multiple times. So that is the story of why the Jericho Appreciation Society exists. Now, JR, calm down. I need analytics, JR. Analytical, JR. Not angry, JR. What did you think about this segment? Are you still there, or are you thinking about how to be analytical and not angry?
Oh, I'm sorry. I dozed off because I was so bored with this segment. Okay, no, seriously. This is what I'll say. Daniel Garcia, a lot of people, he's another guy like Wheeler Yuta. A lot of people wanted him to be a part of the Bryan Danielson and Jonathan Moxley faction because of his ring work ability. And, if he's with Jericho, I'll use the same person as Sammy Guevara. He's that young guy that they see something in him. They see that he could be a potential champion. And I say champion because I don't want to put that big world heavyweight champion. I'm just saying, being a champion, whether it's a tag team or TNT, but somebody they see. And I think, just on a quick tangent with this, we talked about from the moment they signed, AEW was created, you had the Elite, you had Chris Jericho, You had Jon Moxley. That was your core main eventers, and then you had some people, around their SCU is another one. But when you look at it, those were guys that were going to, fast track 3 years later. They're older, and we don't know how much time they're going to still be doing their thing. So you had your pillars. They talk about Darby Allen and Sammy Guevara and Jungle Boy, and MJF. And those guys have risen to the top, and now those guys are carrying champions. We've seen everybody except MJF, who MJF is going to be on the cusp, but has main evented, been champion. And now you're going to find your next, which is a guy like could potentially be Wheeler Yuta or Daniel Garcia. So I completely support him being in this, because if you're going to be with Chris Jericho, no matter what, you're going to be featured in a prominent role every week on AEW television. 2.0, from the minute they signed with AEW, have been a great team to help get other people over, because I don't know the one's name. He's the bigger guy. He's just hilarious when he gets on the mic. I just think every time he gets on the mic, he started it. He started the segment on the mic over Jericho, because he does very well and on it. So it's something else where I think they needed a tag team to fill that role, and they found the perfect tag team. I think they complement Jericho very well, especially Matt with his speaking abilities. Hager's Hager, he's the heavy, and that wasn't going to change. This is something where I think we're going to know this is going to be a high mid card feud. It's not going to. As we're moving forward, it's not going to overtake the World Heavyweight title. I don't think it'll overtake the TNT Championship. But when I say that, it won't be the same as we saw with the Pinnacle and Inner Circle last year. But this is essentially the same thing. You're going to see the Jericho Appreciation Society versus Kingston, Proud and Powerful, and 2 more people. And I said it last week, and I'll say it again. I'm actually, if I give it, my strong odds is a 5-on-5 at Double or Nothing, and I would love to see Blood and Guts at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. But this is going to establish those guys. It's also, when I say mid card, this is to me reminiscent of the WWF Attitude Era, where just because it was mid card does not mean it's a mid card where we see today. This is a main event mid card type food, where if you needed it to headline a show, it would headline and do well.
For the lack of a better comparison, Chris Jericho really is the AEW version of The Undertaker. His match, no matter where it is on the card, what he's doing is a big match. It is a featured match on the card. So yeah. So I'll give it to, as I think a good comparison as far as faction. This right here, kind of where in 1998, where WWF after WrestleMania 14 had that big summer feud between the Nation and D-Generation X. That's where that's where I see the similarities. It's not going to main event a show, but if you needed to, because of the star power, because of what it does, and you showed it to me, Floyd, Jericho doing this segment, not ring work, just a segment alone, increased the ratings for AEW after it dipped from the previous segment. Jericho's a draw, and he's gonna give all of them the rub. He's gonna give the formerly 2.0 and Daniel Garcia the rub. I like Daniel Garcia on it. I love the line where he says, "If you're a sports entertainer, I'm a sports entertainer," which was even better because everybody considers Daniel Garcia the pro wrestler's pro wrestler. He is the guy. That's what he does, is he wrestles. So the fact that he's playing up that they beat up sports entertainers, which is their catchphrase. Oh, actually, their catchphrase is "that's entertainment." I don't really like that, but them saying they beat up pro wrestlers is pretty cool. That is definitely setting up a direct conflict with Eddie Kingston and Proud and Powerful. Then we got Let's see. I got to make sure I didn't scroll fast too far. We got a TNT Championship match. We got Mr. Mayhem Wardlow versus Scorpio Sky. I honestly think this match went down exactly how everyone would have planned it out, exactly how we thought it was. Wardlow dominated Scorpio Sky. He got to the point where he was doing the Powerbomb Symphony. Shawn Spears came down to the ring to distract him. MJF comes in from the other side of the ring, hits him in the face with the diamond dozen ring, and then Scorpio Sky gets the roll up in the pin. Scorpio Sky retains. MJF, Shawn Spears, Austin Vanderford, and Scorpio Sky then beat up Wardlow. Vanderford actually chokes out Wardlow at a point, chokes him down, and they stand over the top. And then you see the exchange of money when MJF gives money to Dan Lambert, as there was a deal in the works and he wanted to get at Wardlow. So it was predictable, but I still believe it's good. Your thoughts, JR?
You're 100% right. We already knew this was going to happen because especially after last week when Wardlow cut the promo and MJF was nowhere to be seen, it just made all the sense. We knew that this was going to be the next feud. I mean, I think even weeks before the CM Punk MJF Revolution Dog Collar match, I think you and I had this conversation. I think back in, I think it was even before the CM Punk MJF first match on Dynamite in Chicago, that they were going to eventually go to a Wardlow MJF, and I said I think it was going to happen at Double or Nothing, and just because of the way it's slowly had been built, and the one thing I thought was funny, I know Austin Vanderford beat up Wardlow at the end, but, or helped beat him up. But I was like, I mean, shouldn't Dan Lambert kind of been paying MJF? Because technically MJF helped Scorpio Sky retain. I thought that was kind of funny. But it'll definitely be interesting to see how they do this. I think just the same way we saw with MJF and Jericho, you're going to have that slow burn where he's going to be throwing obstacles in Wardlow's face. I mean, it worked. It's been working since 2020. We saw it in 2020 with Cody. We saw it in 2021 with Jericho, and we'll see it again. I mean, it actually happened twice. Jericho and CM Punk, we saw it where he kept throwing obstacles in CM Punk's way, and it's just that's the way you're historically how wrestling is with heels. Bad heels is that they throw every obstacle in the way, whether it was Ric Flair, whether it was the NWO, in the 90s, whether it was the Rock and the Corporation for WWF, it works, and it helps. It's going to help get Wardlow over. As we saw a lot of the excitement, what happened last year with MJF and what he did, I'd be interested to see now that he no longer has Wardlow as the guy who he threw in everybody's way, who's he going to throw Wardlow's way? So I know you and I had some guesses on that, but it's going to be, I think next week we're going to hear some more promos, but I think probably in 2 or 3 weeks is my guess we're going to see Wardlow versus somebody.
Absolutely. And, 100% agree with that. I think, MJF works better with a heavy. It doesn't necessarily have to be Wardlow, so maybe they'll be doing another one. But we will see going forward. But I thought this segment and this match was really good. It was setting up. It got you teased that Wardlow was just about to win. He did take a little too much time. He didn't just go like his aggressive nature like he did before. He was taking time. He was soaking in the cheers, and that'll let them all take advantage of it. And Scorpio Sky beat Wardlow. I think Wardlow's only lost 3 matches. I mean, the only 3 people that have pinned him are Cody Rhodes, CM Punk, and now Scorpio Sky. Now I'm trying to tell you that guy Scorpio Sky is protected, y'all. When he loses, it's going to be a big deal. Then you had the Hardys versus Private Party. Sir, I would like your thoughts on this match.
It was, I really, I was really happy for Private Party. I mean, I've heard the stories that this is a tag team they looked up to. Private Party, as from the beginning of the creation of AEW when they debuted, was always a team that was. When I saw them, I was like, they're really good, and I think can do amazing things. I think they got hot too quickly, and and they had to get cooled off a little bit because they got. Especially with that big win they had that we talked about over the Young Bucks back in 2019. Man, they looked really happy to get in the ring. Obviously, the crowd was so into the Hardys being back. That nostalgia comes bringing back in. I think there was such a long wait for the Private Party and what they were doing with Matt Hardy and that Hardy family faction and whatnot. To finally get to hear and see Private Party kind of be featured is, I hope, nothing but good things for them coming out of this moving forward, because I think they are a tremendous tag team. I think they can definitely have a run with the tag team titles for AEW. I still don't believe them as a heel, but it works because they have that Mark Queen and Isaiah Cassidy. They have like that. I'm trying to think like just that kind of cockiness to them that they're able to bring out the heels. I like them better as babyface, but they can do it. So I know we'll get to later at the show what's going to be next coming up for them next week. But I just was really happy for them and the crowd gets the Hardys. So my thing is, as we keep moving forward, is are we going to get from the Hardys kind of what we see from Sting, where it's just kind of the. Let me rephrase that. Are the Hardys going to be moving towards a tag team title picture, or they're going to stay in this type of role? Which I would like to stay them in this type of role, because I think with them working with more tag teams, it's going to help give those tag teams more experience and kind of what we've seen in the same way with CM Punk. Like, give them a tag team and help them establish that tag team, just like CM Punk has done when he did with Darby and what he did with MJF.
Absolutely. This match happened. I'm not going to be negative. This match happened. I feel happy for. I feel happy for Private Party that they got to be in this match. I'm happy for Matt and Jeff that they get to work together again. But as far as the match, it happened. It ended. That's pretty much my thoughts on it. Last but not least, we get the women's title match. The AEW women's title match in a cage. Miss Britt Baker versus Thunder Rosa. Thunder Rosa is in her home in San Antonio. Talk about the entrance, JR. Talk about the entrance.
As somebody who is Mexican, proud Mexican that I am, this entrance in that city, and where a heavy Hispanic and a heavy Mexican population, it sent chills up and down my spine. Seeing that group of not just mariachis, but female mariachis. I don't want to speak for everybody that was there in that crowd, or people who saw it on TV, but for me, it reminded me of when you have a famous boxer, Canelo Alvarez, UFC fighter who became champion last year from the flyweight division, Brandon Moreno, or King Velasquez some years ago. When you have a top Mexican person, whether it's in boxing or MMA, and in this case wrestling, and I think back again with Rey Mysterio back in 2006 in Guerrero, the Latinos, they come out in droves because they support one another. And then especially when you get into Latinos support each other, but when you talk about your heritage from your country, as we are from Mexico, it's just that becomes even more deeper. And just like if somebody was from another, every country is that way, from Puerto Rico or Venezuela, Venezuela, whatnot, like UK. So to see that Thunder Rosa, proud Mexican, in that crowd, which has a heavy Mexican crowd on top of the heavy, as part of the Latino crowd, it just sent chills up my spine. And she came out looking in the best gear with the flags of Texas and U.S. and Mexico, because she's a proud Texan, she's a proud Mexican, she's a proud American as well. And it was everything. It's everything you wanted it to be. I mean, I know people had complained about, the Revolution match being the ending, but it's like, this was what needed to happen. Because by doing this in this crowd, you put Thunder Rosa on the biggest stage that she could have possibly been on for her to win. I'm trying to think of anything close to it, because like I said, I'll give you an example. It was last June 2021, UFC in Arizona, which was another big Hispanic state in Glendale, Arizona. And Brandon Moreno came out for the opportunity to win the flyweight title, and he played his song, which was it's a Mexican song that was made for him, and he won the title, and that crowd lost it. And that was the same thing I felt with this one with Thunder Rosa came out. So I can keep rambling on about it, and I'll leave it there. But it was everything.
Yes. Yes. Thunder Rosa makes the amazing entrance. They get into the ring. I'm going to just go through a few of the highlights. Britt Baker paid homage to Scott Hall with her ring attire. God bless Scott Hall, said Tony Schiavone. Britt immediately tried to climb out the cage, but Thunder Rosa pulled her down to the mat, and then, they started fighting. They were in a bad way. I think Britt was the first one to get busted open. Thunder Rosa hits a big stunner on Britt Baker and followed up with a double knee strike to the champ. Thunder Rosa gouged Baker's forehead. Baker cracked Thunder Rosa with the back elbow. Baker rocked Tall Turner with a mistimed super kick. Thunder Rosa nailed Britt Baker with the Thunder Driver. I'm just going to skip for a little bit. Basically, it got to a point where Britt Baker was on top. Excalibur Kane with Britt is looking not only to end the night, but to end the career of Thunder Rosa. Britt and Thunder Rosa slug it out on top of the turnbuckles. Thunder Rosa rammed Britt's head first into the steel cage. She fell backward, and her spine crashing into a stack of steel chairs that Britt Baker had stacked up. Thunder Rosa then got a desperation super kick from Britt Baker. Britt pulled out a bag of thumbtacks. And this was kind of the story of the match. From underneath the ring and then spilled them on the canvas. Thunder Rosa countered out, but Baker back body dropped Rosa onto the thumbtacks for a near fall. Baker transitioned and tried to apply the lockjaw, but Thunder Rosa bit down on Britt's hands. Thunder Rosa powerbombed Baker into the thumbtacks. Baker cracked Thunder Rosa with the steel chair. Thunder Rosa rallied back with the Thunder Fire Driver into the thumbtacks and pinned Britt Baker. And your winner and new AEW Women's Champion, I believe the 5th AEW Women's Champion, Thunder Rosa. JR, your thoughts?
So quickly about the match is I wonder this, if you, Floyd, if you remember, the steel cage for AEW completely engulfs the ring from the first time we've seen it. You and I, you were there. Let me rephrase that. Were you there when Wardlow went against Cody in Georgia?
I was not in Atlanta. I just watched it on the screen.
Well, you and I were there we were both there when Young Bucks versus Lucha Bros All Out with I think that was the second cage match if you don't count Blood and Guts.
Correct.
the cage completely engulfs the ring, but it engulfs it to where a situation where the cage is literally like is right next to the apron. So like there's no room. And in this particular situation, I don't know if they got. I mean, they did. I mean, it was a smaller ring, and I wonder if that was done intentionally to allow for these additional spots of like the cage for the steel chairs and the thumbtacks, because if you go look at pictures, go look at the blood and guts pictures, look at Cody versus Wardlow, look at Young Bucks versus Lucha Bros. That doesn't happen because it is flush. That's the correct word. It is flush with the apron all the way down. So I wonder if that was done, intentionally for these particular moments. It was a good match for me. I would have liked, and just being a little bit of Monday morning quarterback, I would have done maybe a little bit less of the hardcore still chairs thumbtack spots, because we've had that in the lights out match, and I would have just say, okay, let's see you do a cage match with the cage match chemistry that that you can do. That's just me. Now, I'm not trying to take anything away from them. I would have liked to maybe a different match because it felt very similar to the lights out match, kind of when you start adding those other elements. I wonder and moving forward, I'm so happy for Thunder Rosa. I think Thunder Rosa, because of her history with Britt, because of Britt heel ability, because of Thunder Rosa being a babyface again in the right moment with that crowd, was a perfect person to beat her. So now we go, what's next? What's next for her? And I don't think you do the immediate rematch. You could do that battle for the belts, because that'll be they're basically 1-1 in official matches. So you could do that, and you would get another big crowd, because it is going to be in Texas this time, as I mentioned, in the Dallas, Texas area instead of being the San Antonio area in a few weeks. I would like to get back to Serena Deeb versus Thunder Rosa, because as you know, Serena Deeb defeated Thunder Rosa for the NWA Women's Championship some time ago. And for Britt, I would love I think we're going to eventually get similar to what we saw with MJF Wardlow, Britt Baker versus the Jamie Hayter feud.
Absolutely. I agree with all of that. I do think Serena Deeb or someone like her should be that first challenger. I am looking forward to the Thunder Rosa title reign. Y'all know she's that's my girl in AEW. I've been following Thunder Rosa since she was one of the people that I wanted to sign. Then when she signed, I was like, okay, that's my favorite. And she came in and she put on a great match. Shout out to Britt Baker. Oh my God. That woman is willing to kill herself to entertain the world. I want to just tap hats off to both of them, what they put themselves through. People saying that it was too bloody. People saying that the thumbtacks weren't fake or blah, blah, blah. All I can say is, you know what? I got to ask, would you question it? Do you question the men when they do stuff like that? I have to ask. That's the uncomfortable question. Because I've never heard this in a Hell in a Cell or a cage match or thumbtacks. I've never heard someone saying that it was too bloody or if it was fake. Just never heard it. Have you?
No, I mean, I quickly think back to, we had, Nick Gage versus Jericho. Don't remember. I'm sure there was. I'm not going to say no. To say no, I never heard. I'm sure it was out there, but not to the level I've seen. The thumbtacks ones really threw me off because, we went through this. Like, this is literally the anniversary of the Lights Out match where they had thumbtacks. I'm not crazy, right? I remember them being thumbtacks last year, right?
Absolutely.
So I don't know why all of a sudden out of nowhere you think the thumbtacks were fake. It was so bad. Aubrey Edwards was a pincushion as well because she decided to slide in the thumbtacks to make the count, and I would have been like, I would have been over there in the corner counting it. So No, those women, and when I said what I said, it was just to say a different style because those women put each other through hell last year and they did it again. For me, it was just doing it in a different style of matchup, but they gave you everything they had. Doing those spots, especially for me, it was more of the chairs. Also that was setting that up, that pyramid or whatever that was insane.
Yeah, I just like it. Just put some respect on their name. The winner went out there and put their bodies through hell to entertain and take this women's division to a whole nother level. And anyone questioning that, and and how they choose to perform, you don't like blood, turn the channel. Okay, that's simple. You don't like blood, turn the channel. But these women are tough as nails. It was amazing. It was a great match. Great way to end this week's Dynamite in San Antonio. You know what? This is how you do it. Hometown person and their hometown. Big match. Big win. Everybody celebrating. She's kissing her family on the sideline. The people from Mission Pro Wrestling is there. That's exactly how this title win was supposed to happen. This is exactly how the title win was supposed to happen. When Britt Baker won the title, her mom and dad was in the front row. Tony Schiavone comes out and hugs her out there. AEW does title changes about as well as any company I've ever seen in the history. They pick the right moments, whether it's a heel winning it or a face winning it. They always make the moment special. It always matters. Do you agree with that?
With the exception of Jurassic Express, but yeah, I'll agree with that.
Oh, yeah, Jurassic Express kind of got crapped on because somebody's arm bent in half. So, yeah, I can say how that. I feel like it would have been a great moment had Rey Fenix's arm not bent in half. And
no, they just shouldn't be Lucha Bros, but that's another discussion for another day.
Yes. All right, so on to AEW Rampage. It came on right after the NCAA tournament on Friday. We went straight into a match: Darby Allen versus Butcher. The Butcher dominated the match. He looked strong. He looked physical. But in the end, okay, yes. It's called a code red. That's what that sunset flip is called, right?
If you say so.
Darby Allen hits Big Butch with a code red on the outside. Then he goes to the top. And just like my new favorite wrestler, he does it with no regard for his own body. He does a coffin drop from the top rope to the outside of the ring, landing square on Butch. He jumps in the ring. Butcher is not able to answer the 10. He wins by 10. Wins by a count out. Me and JR see this match differently. I thought this made Butcher look strong. Darby Allen wasn't able to get to 1, 2, 3 on him. But he did have to, take it, physical size. He took advantage, hit his move where he could, and got the count out. I think it made Big Butch look strong, but also made Darby look really resilient. JR thinks, and I'll let JR tell you what he thinks.
My thing is, at the end of the day, even though it's a count out finish, he hit his finisher and couldn't get it to a count of 10, which to me, that's the same as. And the way he did it is where he says, like, I think I'm almost up. And then he collapses down. It wasn't like, he was like, it was 7. He got up at 9 and then couldn't make it back to the rope. I mean, he basically, he collapsed. He was out of it. He was face down when Darby Allen, when hand was raised. So, the Butcher put Darby Allen, threw his ass around like a boomerang. And not for me. It's crazy how much Darby Allen gets his ass whooped, especially by bigger men, where it's Brian Cage like in the past or Will Hobbs we've seen, and he somehow just keeps coming and gets these W's. But I tell you this though, Floyd, you noticed today on this Rampage show, because as you know, as most know, most of the Rampages, with the exception of like when it's near a pay-per-view, most of the Rampages are taped the same night as Dynamite. So this was in the same arena, San Antonio. That ring looked a lot smaller when you started seeing some of these bigger boys in there, like the Butcher. I felt than what we saw on Wednesday on Dynamite. The Butcher and later we saw Keith Lee. That ring looked awfully small with them big boys.
They did. That is just the nature of it. They are very, very large men.
The other thing too, though, I will say this: when they started, I liked how they jumped. I never noticed it before until today. I ended up, due to family obligations, I didn't get a chance to see Rampage until today. But when you jump into it where they're already in the ring, it just feels like it's something unique about it where it kind of reminds me of kind of like, it's Rampage, it's gritty, like let's get straight to the action and we're gonna see some ass kick, and like it's just something about it just makes it feel different when you skip the entrances for Rampage. It's late night fights. Like, I don't know, I can't explain it. It just feels different in a good way when they do it on Rampage.
Absolutely, completely agree with that. It gives it that big bike feel. It got me, like, I didn't watch it until Saturday morning because I was already asleep when it was time for it to come on. But it just got me right into it. It was like, it's time to watch wrestling. You know, there is no like, the entrance and all that stuff. Let me turn the channel on this, or let me iron some clothes or whatever in the hell people do. I don't iron clothes, but maybe fold some laundry. No, you don't have time to do that. It's time for wrestling right out the gate, and I love that. The next thing was Red Velvet versus Leyla Hirsch. We had a decent match. Red Velvet started getting the better of Legit Leyla. Legit Leyla went to her new finisher, which is grabbing a piece of the turnbuckle to hit her opponent with and beat them. But Chris Statlander came out in all black with just a little paint on her face, completely different look. She took the pipe from Leyla Hirsch. Red Velvet then hits her. Red Velvet then rolls up Leyla Hirsch for the win. I don't have a lot to say about this match. This was to get eventually back to Leyla Hirsch and Chris Statlander. I'm imagining it's going to be some kind of no DQ Falls Count Anywhere match. So I'm interested in that, but I didn't think that the Red Velvet match was anything to speak of. Do you have any thoughts, sir?
No, it was definitely just set up the next part of the Statlander and Leyla Hirsch storyline. I'm very excited because, like, as we talked about earlier with FTR, now with Statlander, not obviously going from a babyface to a heel, but we've known Statlander as being the fun-loving, alien, and now we're, seeing kind of Leyla brought out this darkness in her, and let's see how she uses this because she looked phenomenal. That on Friday night, from her, her new gear to her facial expressions, like she looks determined. Like I'll say this, she reminded me of the Terminator, kind of. In all honesty, like she has her enemy in sights, and she's gonna do everything she can to cause bodily harm to that woman.
And I see Leyla as kind of the Jungle Boy of the women's division, and the way I say that is they brought her in, She was very new in the training and all that kind of stuff. I think maybe a couple years or whatever, maybe 2 or 3 years. And she was going to be the future. You had Britt, Nyla, Rio. They were all going to be the immediate. But Chris Statlander is a long-term build towards the future. Just like you saw Jungle Boy, he was real quiet, never talked, and you saw him get that more serious side and then start cutting promos. I think this was Chris Statlander's light switch flip, because Jungle Boy went away from really being Jungle Boy and playing up to Jungle Boy to now he's just a serious professional wrestler. That's what Christian brought to him. Now Chris Statlander seems to be taking that turn too, and I like it. All right, then we had Malachi Black, Buddy Matthews, and Brody King, better known as the House of Black, versus Bear Country and Oklahoma's own Fuego del Sol. It was a squash match. So I don't know what else to say. What did you think of the match? Did you have any thoughts, sir?
I'll say this: Fuego knows how to sell an ass whooping because when he went flying off that turnbuckle, he ate that forearm by Brody King. I mean, I thought he was dead. And shout out to my boy Fuego. I love him. I think he's one of the best sellers in professional wrestling that I see. If you need to get somebody over to look like $1 million in a victory, go get Fuego because that dude's he's gonna sell as they said earlier. He's gonna sell like he's going to the electric chair.
Super, super talented professional wrestler, Fuego. I've literally seen him wrestle outside of AEW about 10, 20 times. Never seen him have a bad match. The dude is so talented. And, you need him there. He's one of those people. You need him there. Because he makes any ass whooping, he makes it look twice as good. I'm just hoping he gets to the point where he's sticking around. I know he's signed with AEW now. I just want him to stick around for the long haul. Let's see. What do we do? Are we at the main event? It's time for the main event. It wasn't in the main event. Keith Lee versus Max Caster. Yeah, I mean, Max Caster did a good job. Keith Lee hits his Big Bang catastrophe to get the win. And Ricky Starks and Powerhouse Hobbs attacked Lee until who came out to side? Whose house? Swerve's house. Swerve Strickland came out to make the save. JR, first, tell me what you think about the match. Then tell me what you think about what happened afterwards.
I just love how they're building up Keith Lee. And that's another team. The Acclaimed. I talked about 2.0. The Acclaimed are a great heel team because of what Matt Caster can do on the promo skills, and they just have a great link to them. But I mean, this was Keith Lee had to get over, and when you add, I think the problem is as you move forward is the singles division is a little bit murky, messy right now. So this is a way to get what they're doing with Swerve Scott is essentially to get both these guys to get a lot of shine, but not to get to a situation where I think for right now that no one's calling for an immediate, get to the TNT title. Because that's where it's going to lead to is that with what you do with Keith Lee is like, and especially what he did in this previous company is like, I think a lot of people, and myself, because I'm a massive Keith Lee fan, is like, get that boy to the title. It's like, well, let's slow it down a little bit. This is going to be a good feud because we know what Will Hobbs and Ricky Starks are capable of, and we know Ricky Starks is capable of on the mic. And so this is the team Taz versus these two guys is going to get both these baby faces Swerve and Keith Lee the rub they need in AEW, and it's going to put on some entertaining matches.
I don't know what's going to go on here, but I did notice a correlation of something. Remember when Will Hobbs turned on Brian Cage, or not Brian Cage? Yeah, when Will Hobbs joined Team Taz, I forgot who he turned on. But remember when he joined Team Taz?
He turned on Darby and Cody.
Yeah, remember when he turned on them, right? Every time Will Hobbs would come down to the ring, he would come down to the ring and Team Taz would immediately leave, and there would never be any physical contact. What happened on Friday night?
I see what you're saying.
I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just saying that one match correlation. They never actually Swerve has never actually touched Ricky Starks or Will Hobbs. Whose house? Swerve's house. And he comes off kind of heelish. Like his whole gimmick comes off heelish. So aligning with Team Taz seemed like it might make some sense. We will see. All right. Well, that was Rampage for this week. So that was Dynamite and Rampage real quick. Like real quick. We're going to do a preview of next week's show. There's only 2 matches and 1 segment announced. So we got the Hardy Boys, Sting, the Hardy Brothers, Sting and Darby Allen versus Butcher, the Blade, and Private Party. Then we got Jericho and Garcia versus Silver and Reynolds. And then MJF speaks. Sir, you excited about any of these segments going forward next week?
Man, we get Sting back in the ring. This is a
it's a Texas Tornado match. Forgot to throw that out there.
They're gonna. I believe this show is taking place in Austin, Texas, in the HEB Center. If I'm not mistaken, and they're gonna freaking carry. They're gonna 8 men, especially. We saw what Sting did, at Revolution, and so now you're gonna get those same men, Sting, Darby, and now you're, all the Private Party, the Hardys. I expect them to be jumping off every single rafter in that damn arena.
Yeah, Sting in Texas. You can't go wrong with Sting in Texas. Tickets still for sale, so if you live in Texas, go get some tickets. Again, my commitment not to do as much. I will be missing the show in Texas. Hurts my soul, but whatever. MJF Speaks is the segment I'm most excited about. I want to know if he does introduce a new heavy or if he just, throws Sean Spears. Of course, he's going to go in on Wardlow. He's going to sue him, all that good stuff. But I want to know the physical aspect of it. Does CM Punk show up? What's going on? Also, I did receive news that CM Punk is in Georgia recording, doing an episode of Heels, the Stephen Amell show on Stars. Stephen Amell also posted a picture with Dave Bautista, so I'm like, I don't know if that means anything, but I thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, so CM Punk might not even be on the show this week. I don't know. That is complete speculation. I'm not saying I know anything, but when they record the TV shows, sometimes it does take a week or 2. So, and it'll give time for Hangman and Cole to work out their shit. Because, CM Punk's like, I got next over here. But that is your preview for Dynamite. It was a very short preview because they haven't announced a lot of matches or anything. So I am looking forward to next week. JR, before we get out of here, do you got anything left to add, sir?
Nope. It's a very fun time because we are coming up today, as we're recording on Sunday, if I'm doing my dates correctly, today is the 20th. In the next 2 months, we have WrestleMania weekend and we have Double or Nothing, and it's a great time to be a wrestling fan.
Yes, I am very excited for that. So, JR, you can definitely catch him online at Lucha Professor, right?
Correct.
At Lucha Professor. You can follow me at Floyd Johnson Jr., but you know me, I always point you to at AT Elite Pod. That's the site of the page. Definitely post updates when we have them there. But yeah, this show will be out Monday morning, March 21st. Thank you for all that listening, and I just want to leave you with this. It's just, at this time of year, we're heading to spring. The sun's about to start shining. I'm just going to say get out. Get out. Touch the sun. Touch grass if you don't already get out. And, go see a movie. Do something. Enjoy life. We only get one of these. So with that, I will leave you how I always leave you. Whether it is home, work, or school, always do your best to be elite.